So it's actually in your own best interest, in your own self-interest, to put your self-interest aside and focus on the interest of the other person.
Millionaire.
Hi, so great to be with you.
Great to have you. You are a real inspiration. So before I get into that, let me just go ahead and officially do the introduction. So hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Sharika. My name is Sharika Swaby, and the mission here is to inspire you and myself too to become the best version of ourselves. And today I have an amazing guest for you. I have the co-author of The Go Giver, which I'm now learning is a series, Mr. Bob Burg. And I read his book 3 times now. That's The Go Giver, not the rest of the series. I've read it 3 times. And when I read it the second time, I had to take this down off my wall because I wrote down all the laws so that I could have them to occasionally take a look at. So thank you so much for being here. I am a massive fan, so thank you for taking the time to see me.
I'm honored. Thank you so very much.
You are so very welcome. So I want to tell you a little story before we begin. So when I read the book the second time, I was just starting my business, just going into. That was just a little bit over a year ago. I was just going into personal development and wanting to help others and so on. So, well, I had been on the journey for myself, but now I wanted to help other people. So I decided that I was going to go into coaching and speaking and all of that. And just around that time, someone sent me the book again, the ebook again. That was the second time I was going to read it. So when I read it, it said, the first law, I said, it's the law of value, right? So I lay down on my bed with my feet hanging on the ground, and I was thinking, how can I apply this law, right? And so I came up with what I called at the time a happiness challenge. And a lot of people signed up for it, but not a lot of people actually went through the process. So anyways, sometime after that, I went to a speaking training, and the trainer was saying we can do a lot of things with our content to monetize it. We can make a book, an ebook, or so on and so forth. So it got me thinking, what if I could turn the challenge that I created into an ebook? I did. But then every time I went to review it, I kept adding content, until it turned into an actual book, which I'm
Woo! All right.
And as I said, real inspiration, and your book is absolutely phenomenal. I need to look into the other ones as well. I'm sure they're amazing. So
Thank you. But look at how you kept wanting to add value and add value and add value to your ebook, and you added so much value that it actually became a regular book. So you put that out there through your desire to provide value, to give value to others. That's wonderful.
That's wonderful. And it was inspired by the Go Giver. So
oh, thank you.
Thank you again for that. So the 5 stratospheric laws of success, right? I want to hear how this story came to be.
Well, years and years ago, many years ago, I had my initial book. It was called Endless Referrals, Network Your Everyday Contacts into Sales. And it was a how-to book, a system, if you will, a manual for people who they knew they had a great product, a great service. It added wonderful value to people's lives, but they didn't necessarily feel comfortable going out into their communities and developing the kinds of relationships that would cause people to do business with them and or refer them to others. So endless referrals was a system for doing that. I define a system as the process of predictably achieving a goal based on a logical and specific set of how-to principles. The key to a system is predictability. If it's been proven that by doing A, you'll get the desired result of B, then you simply need to do A and continue to do A, and eventually you'll get the desired result of B. That's what Endless Referrals was, a how-to book. The premise was that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. But I'd always read parables since I'd been in sales. I always enjoyed reading business parables because parables are stories. And stories tend to connect on a deeper level with people, on a very heart-to-heart level. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could take that basic teaching of endless referrals and put it into a parable? So in coming up with the name, it was really just a matter of asking, what's the basic essence of those entrepreneurs and salespeople who can very quickly and sustainably create those know, like, and trust relationships. And it's that they're givers. They're always looking to give value to others. So coming up with the name The Go-Giver, that was very easy. But the best part, best thing I did for the book was to ask John David Mann, who was the editor-in-chief of a magazine I used to write for, who even back then had, excuse me, had a reputation as a brilliant storyteller and writer. I asked him, and John was a great entrepreneur himself, so I asked if he would be the lead writer / storyteller for this idea I had for a book. So he and his, at the time, fiance, now wife, Anna, when they were across the state in Florida visiting her mom, they took a 4.5-hour drive across state. We had about a 3-hour dinner, discussed the idea for the book. And about 3 weeks after that, John called me back and said, yeah, let's do this. I think this has some potential. So after, writing it, we got turned down by 25 New York publishing houses over the course of a year. Finally found the perfect publishing partner for us, which was Portfolio, a division of Penguin Random House. And, now it's just been a fun ride. We've had the book out for about 13 years now. There's several books in the series. And it's funny, John, he and his wife, Anna, have just written another book together. I'm not involved in this one, but they wrote a book called The Go-Giver Marriage, which is coming out in about 3 weeks. And I got a chance to read it and, a pre-published copy, and they did a fantastic job with it. So yeah, that's really sort of how it all got started.
Wow, amazing. So I was looking forward for you to actually tell me that Pindar was an actual person that I could meet.
Well, Pindar was loosely based on a gentleman by the name of Bob Proctor. And Bob is we just lost him a couple of weeks ago, but was a very nice man and a very highly regarded teacher and mentor and coach in terms of prosperity. And Bob has made a huge difference in the lives of so many people. And, the world lost one of its great people when we lost him a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, the character of Pindar, John and I kind of imagined Bob's stature and the gray wavy hair and the deep voice and the commanding way, but just the nice, very kind essence, always wanting to help others.
I'm sure it would have been awesome to meet him. I wanted to, but I'll meet him in the next life.
Absolutely. He was a very, very nice man.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Now, just make it up is one of the concepts in the book. So just make. I think this came when they went to the story where the lady was
Nicole Martin, yeah,
Nicole
the CEO.
Martin, right? And it says just make it up, right? The concept is whatever we want to create in our lives, we should just make it up as we go along.
Well, so let's kind of look a little deeper into that though, because we're not just saying do things haphazardly. No, you should have a plan, of course, and you should learn how to do something, go about it the correct way. What she was saying was we grow up telling ourselves stories. And actually, those stories were told to us first. So through upbringing, environment, schooling, news media, television shows, movies, social media, right? All the people, but really from a very young age, we operate out of our own belief system, what I call an unconscious operating system. And these stories we have not really told ourselves, we've accepted from others regarding the way life is. And as Nicole said, her story that she had been told was there are either good, noble people who are poor, right? Or there are the rich, wealthy people who, take advantage of it, right? That's a story. So what she said is she realized once she had an idea that could add immense value to the lives of many, many people, as well as improve her own personal condition, she had to then kind of make up another story. She had to say, no, I reject that premise. Instead, the story is that if you find a way to add immense value to people's lives and improve people's lives, you can actually succeed very, very well yourself. And that was the story she decided to make up as she went along. But we don't want anybody to think that what we're saying is just, do things by the seat of your pants and, just make things in that regard.
We definitely don't want to do that, right? No, we don't want to do that. So Nicole made up her own story. She changed her paradigm.
Yeah.
She changed her paradigm, and it's funny that a teacher was used for this, because in our general society, teachers, and those are some of the people who make the least amount of money, and they offer so much service.
So it's interesting in that part of the story, Nicole's character was loosely based on a woman I used to date about 25 years ago. Her name was Annette. And Annette was a school teacher, just like Nicole, who, like Nicole, loved what she did, although the bureaucracy often really, she loved the kids, she loved the parents, the kids and the parents loved her, but she felt very stifled by what she was doing. So she made extra money just by tutoring, okay? And she was so good at it that she kept getting referred to others and got so busy doing it that she had to leave her regular job as a teacher, and she created her own tutoring service and got so busy that she had to hire other tutors. So that's who we base Nicole off of. And Annette did not create a learning system for children software program like Nicole did. But the story's very much the same in terms of the basics. So when people say, well, could that really happen? Absolutely, it could happen. It did happen.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That could definitely happen. So, okay, let's shift to something else for a bit, because I know we don't have a lot of time. No, in your book, right, the common factor for all of the people who played a major role was to give, right? And we are taught that we are supposed to give without expecting anything in return. I hope you guys can hear me better now. We are taught to give without expecting anything in return, right? And then the fifth law is the law of receptivity, which is you have to expect something, right? And then it also says you get what you expect. Now, all of this is just paradigms, right? Different things, different belief systems that we have. So, in the most practical way that you could think of, how does someone go from it's okay to give and it's okay to receive?
Okay, so let's look at that because I think it's very important. You had said that the lesson in the book that throughout was giving, or that you said we've always been told give without expecting to receive. And so many people quote John and I as saying that, and we never said that in the book. We never said that in the book. Now, what I think people mean and what John and I would say is give without attachment. That's different from giving without expectation. I want people to expect good things. As Pindar said to Joe, you get what you expect.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean when you do something, when you give value to some person, you're necessarily going to get something back and receive from that person. You may or may not. But we should go in always just expecting good things to happen. It doesn't have to be about anything specific. But if you're providing immense value to the marketplace, if your focus is rather on yourself, it's on being of value to others, discovering what other people need, want, and desire, and helping them to get it, what you're doing is creating what John and I call the benevolent context for success, right? It's human nature for people to want to feel good about that person who is providing value to them. So again, you do it without attachment to the results, but not without expectation. I think we should always. I want everybody watching this to expect good things to happen. Right? I want your life to be one of positive expectation because you get what you expect. And if you expect good things to happen and you're doing the right things to create that happening, it's going to happen. So now receptivity, which is the fifth law, receptivity simply means you're open to receiving, right? So wherever that happens to come from, you're open to it. You're not pushing it away. Now, this could mean money, but it could also mean when somebody gives you a compliment. Do you say, oh, no, or do you say, oh, thank you so much. That's very kind, right? You're right. And that's so be able to receive. The key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. It's like breathing out and breathing in. It's not one or the other. You've got to do both. You breathe out carbon dioxide. You breathe in oxygen. You breathe out, which is giving. You breathe in, which is receiving. Giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. Giving and receiving are simply two sides of the very same coin, and they work in tandem. But here's what we all know, that you give first. The giving comes first. Now, this is a universal law. It's a law of nature. We plant before we harvest, but we still harvest. We sow before we reap, but we still reap. We give before we receive, but we still receive. As John and I say, money is simply an echo of value, right? And so what that really means is that when you focus on the giving, the receiving, okay, the money you receive or whatever it is you receive is simply a natural result of the value you've given.
Truly amazing, which is how I ended up with that book, because I kept to add value, and I kept writing and say, okay, I need to add some of my story in there to get context so people can relate, and I need to do this, and I kept adding value, and if I didn't publish, I would probably still be adding value. So you are correct there, and now I put it out there, and I want people to purchase it because it's really valuable. But at the same time, I don't have any attachments to what I'm expecting. So I think I get that, because for years I had that as a major issue for me. I didn't accept compliments very well. I was one of those persons who, when they say, "Oh, Sharika, you look nice," I held my head down. And I didn't respond. Or there's someone say, "Oh, that's such a nice dress. Oh, I've had it so long," and I didn't say thank you, So I've learned now to accept compliments and I'm not saying no to anything.
All right, but that's wonderful though, because, and it's the same with, we all learn, right? And we all grow and we all continue. And I think the big thing is being conscious of. And when we realize there's something that we're doing that is not productive, either for us or for others, and we're aware of it, Now we're in a position where we can take steps to correct it.
So, still on the topic of giving here, if say someone has a business, right, and maybe this person is offering a product and the next person is offering a service, would you say it's easier to practice this law of adding value with a service more than it is to with a product?
No, you can do it either way. Let's look at what value really is, okay? Because there's a couple different forms, as opposed to price, which is a dollar figure or whatever currency, whether it's a pound or a yen or a euro or whatever it happens to be, a dollar. That's price. Price is finite. It simply is what it is. Value is different, though. See, value is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this product, or this service, or this concept, or this idea that brings so much worth or value to another human being that they will willingly, whether it's exchange their money for it, or their energy, or their time, or their, whatever it happens to be. But remember, value, which is relative, is always in the eyes of the beholder. So the way that you bring that, now there's an intrinsic value in a product or service. Okay, a TV set is supposed to do certain things. It's supposed to work. It's supposed to get you lots of channels, and it's right. That's a product. A service may be an accountant, right, or a bookkeeper who does your taxes and helps you keep your books. That's a service. But by just intrinsically, they're both supposed to add value to your life. But it's that additional value we provide to people at every single touch point when we first meet them, through the relationship building process, through the follow up and follow through the sales process, the referral process. How do we make people feel? How is it that we communicate our excellence, our consistency, our attention to them as human beings, not just as prospects? How do we communicate our empathy toward their problems and challenges? How do we express our appreciation to them? And so when we combine all these, what we call elements of value, right, we're able to really make a difference in their life, which is what takes price and our competitors out of the issue. But it's also understanding, again, and this is so important, I said it, but let me repeat it. Value is always in the eyes of the beholder. So our job as entrepreneurs and salespeople is to discover what that other person believes is of value. It's not what we think is of value or what we think someone else. Remember, we all look at the world through our own unique set of beliefs. Our beliefs are not necessarily their beliefs.
Right.
So we've got to be able to ask questions and really, really listen in order to understand and know what it is they want.
All right. So I think the law of compensation kind of explains itself. When you add the value, you'll be compensated accordingly.
And how many people you add that value to, and that's so key, because value in and of itself is of course, that's very important. That's the foundational principle. But as Nicole Martin told Joe, the law of value represents your potential income, right? The law of compensation is all about how many lives you impact, how many lives you touch with the exceptional value you provide, which is why we need to also be able to touch the lives of many people.
Right, right. So then, so that takes us to the next law, which is the law of influence, right? And this one is kind of tricky because there are a lot of people on social media, and you are an influencer because of the value that you've provided. Again, that word keeps coming up, but it's determined by how abundantly you place other people's interest first. Now, as human beings, we are naturally selfish. So how does one go from being it's all about me or what I want or what makes me happy to serving other people and thinking about their interests and what they want, and how does that come back to be of service to me?
Sure. You're right. As human beings, we are basically self-interested creatures, and that's okay. That's it. Sorry, that's okay. That's part of human nature. And a great friend of mine said, his name is Dan Rockwell. He's a speaker and blogger on leadership. He says self-interest is normal. Other leadership or other focused leadership, he says self-interest is normal. Other interest is leadership. Okay, so here's really what he's saying. And when we say your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first, we're not saying you should be anybody's doormat or a martyr or self-sacrificial. Not at all. It's understanding a very basic. Remember what we were talking about earlier, and Joe, the protege, learned this in the book. The golden rule of sales, of business, is that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. Well, here's the thing. There's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you from others, those know, like, and trust feelings toward you, than by genuinely moving from an I focus or me focus, right, a self focus, to an other focus, looking to make your win all about the other person's win. Now, when you're like that, okay, and you're looking to help that other person succeed, doesn't it make sense that they're much more likely to want to do business with you? They're more likely to tell others about you, to be your personal walking ambassador. So it's actually in your own best interest, in your own self-interest, to put your self-interest aside and focus on the interest of the other person. Remember, nobody's going to, and I say this when I speak at sales conferences, nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. Nobody's going to buy from you because you need the money. Nobody's going to buy from you because you'd like the sale. And nobody's going to buy from you just because you're a nice person. People are going to buy from you because they believe that they will be better off by doing so than by not doing so. And that's fine. Again, that's human nature, and that's fine. It means that entrepreneur or salesperson who can absolutely be totally laser focused on finding ways to bring value to others, that's the person who's going to be the most successful.
It's interesting. As I said, I've read the book 3 times, and there's every time I read it, I've always gotten a little bit more value out of it. That word keeps coming up.
Thank you.
Can you hear me well? You're hearing me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So, we just have a few minutes left before I'm out of my 30 minutes. So I wanna ask you, so for this show is to help people to realize their best potentials, right? What I want to ask you, if someone who is seeing this right now, or later when I put it up on YouTube or something, and they're thinking they are fresh on the scene, they are probably thinking they don't have anything to give. How do you advise that person to add value to someone if they're thinking, because we all have something to give, but
sure,
that person may be thinking that, okay, I don't have anything to give to anybody. How would you advise that person? And then we're going to take the question in the chat.
Well, you're right. Everybody does have value, okay? And it can be value in terms of listening to another person. It can be value in terms of empathy for another person. It can be value in terms of the attention you give another person. It could be value in terms of being able to introduce someone to another person, right? It could be value in terms of seeing something about their business that they don't even know is hurting them, and you're able to find it, and you're able to come to them with a good idea that serves them and adds value to them. Okay, so there's lots of ways we can be of value to others. And once the relationship starts, whether it's an outbound call or meeting them in person, it's just taking interest in them and learning about them, right? And, you may find that someone went to a certain college or university. Well, I'll bet that if you look online, you can find something going on with that college or university that person would find to be of interest. And maybe you can print it out and send a personalized handwritten note to them saying you were just thinking of them and you saw this, you saw this article and you were thinking of them. I hope you find it to be of value. Boom. It has nothing to do with business, but it says to this person, this is what somebody who is taking an interest in me. And sometimes that's how relationships start. So, you don't know what you have to offer someone that is something that they could be interested in.
That's true. That is true. Thank you for answering that. I'm going to take this question in the chat. The person saying, I think it's Hugo, when do you start adding value to yourself?
Well, I think you continually and always add value to yourself. So the question is, how do you do that? I believe growth is the way we add value to ourselves. Reading, studying, learning, also relaxing, taking time to recreate. It's being with the people we love. So, it's working out and keeping healthy. So we're constantly and consistently. And the answer is always and now, right? In terms of adding value to yourself. Great question. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Constantly educate yourself, constantly take time for yourself, constantly relax. Always my time for myself is in the morning before the rest of the world wakes up. And that's the best time too. So,
my favorite time as well.
Yeah. Okay, so we're out of time. Can I ask you two more questions?
Sure.
Okay. What is 2 or 3 affirmations that you use every single day to help you maintain your desired state of being?
I don't personally use affirmations. I do have sayings that I have, that I have printed out and that I will switch off on my computer so that I can, read them every so often. But I don't have affirmations. I think affirmations are great if someone wants to do that. I think it's wonderful. It's not something I personally do.
Okay. All right. What would you say to someone who wants to start a business and is thinking that it's going to be a difficult process, or maybe they read your book and thinking, oh, that's just a concept, it's not something that can actually happen for real, right? How would you advise someone like that?
Well, I think anyone starting a business needs to find the find the system for making that business work. So if you're in a business, someone has already done that business, right? Unless you're inventing a whole new business. And even that is probably based partly on something that's already existed that you've just kind of tweaked. But most of us, we start a business. We start a business that someone else has already succeeded at. So seek out and find that information. Find that system that they used, right? Remember that process of predictably achieving a goal. Someone's done it, so get books on it or take a seminar on it or call them and ask them for advice and or what have you. But definitely I would say find out how to do the business. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. The wheel has probably already been invented. Then you've got to put into action the information that you learn, and you've got to do it before you've perfected it, because you're never going to perfect it, but you're going to keep getting better at it. But you start as soon as you have enough information to go out there and begin, you begin. And then you realize that you're going to get a lot of no's, and you've got to be very persistent. A great friend of mine, she and her husband, Andrea Waltz and Richard Fenton, wrote a great book, a parable called Go for No, where they talk about, yes is the destination, no is how you get there, right? And so you've got to understand that no is a big part of it. So as long as you're willing to do that and you have the belief in yourself, the belief in your business, the belief in your product or service that it's making a difference, then you start your business.
Got it. Thank you so much. I'm out of time. I wish I had more time, but my time is up. So I just want to say if you have not yet read The Go-Giver, if you're here and for whatever reason you've never heard of it and you haven't read it, I promise you it is inspirational. As I said, I've read it 3 times. So, and it inspired me to write this book, An Introduction to Freedom. And it's super valuable, designed to help you with stress and anxiety, essentially to get you out of your own way, out of your own head. So you can check that out. It's in the link in my bio. And if you follow Bob, or you can, Bob follows me, you can find him Bob Burg. The real Bob Burg, I think, is his Instagram. So check him out. And Bob, I'll definitely be checking out your other books in the series, because I didn't know there was actually a series. So,
Thank you.
Again, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me here today. It was an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure. You are a delight, and I appreciate you very much.
Thank you. And guys, if you're not following me, please give me a follow. I do this every Thursday with an amazing guest. As you can see, I have Bob here, so he should give you an idea. But I do this every Thursday, so if you want more inspiration, more insight into becoming the best version of you, give me a follow so that you can be aware when I'm on here talking to amazing people. Until next week, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and goodbye. Thanks again, Bob.